Hello everyone, this is Latino Gamer, bringing you my review of the Street Fighter Alpha Anthology by Capcom.
If there's one thing Capcom knows how to do, it's how to milk a franchise.
If there's a second thing they know how to do, then it's how to make a great compilation.
Some will say you've played one Street Fighter, you've played them all. Others can go on about every slight variation the gameplay brought about in each entry of the series. For those of you who are totally new to the series, Street Fighter is in many ways the standard in fighting games. In the Street Fighter Alpha Anthology, you have your light, medium, and hard punch buttons with square, triangle, and R1. Your light, medium, and hard kicks with X, circle, and R2 buttons, and you can move with either the D-pad or the left analog stick. Every character has their own set of special moves as well as super combos they can perform. There are way too many to go through here, but just to get you started, Ryu and Ken share 3 special moves. The iconic Hadouken is a blue fireball, obviously best from a distance. The command for performing this move is down, down forward, forward punch. The Hurricane kick is a spin kick, useful for approaching opponents. The command for this is down, down back, back, kick. The Shoryuken, or Dragon Punch, is a rising uppercut, a strong move against opponents immediately in front or above you. The command for this is forward, down, down forward, punch. It shouldn't take you too long to be able to perform these moves reliably, but just in case, there's always training mode, which allows you to practice for as long as you like against a still opponent. Of course, veterans of the series know all of this in their sleep. You want to know what characters and features you can find in this anthology. So now, let's take a look back at the Street Fighter franchise. The original Street Fighter in the arcades introduced us to Japanese martial artist Ryu, who had to fight his way through a series of enemies to defeat his rival, the Tai Chi master Sagat from Thailand, who ended up with a scar on his face as a result of his loss against Ryu. The game featured a 2-player mode for versus play, where the second player controlled a palette swap of Ryu, named Ken. While Street Fighter wasn't a huge hit, Capcom followed up with Street Fighter II, The World Warrior, which introduced us to a full roster of playable characters with distinct strengths and abilities. This included giving Ken his own backstory, making him American, and tweaking his attacks to differentiate him from Ryu. This process is known as Luigification. Street Fighter II was an enormous hit and to this day is arguably the most influential fighting or arcade game ever created. The cast would become some of the best known video game characters, including the Chinese martial artist Chun-Li, whose position as the only female fighter amongst the original World Warriors would help her attain tremendous popularity as one of the leading ladies of video games. The professional wrestler Zangief from the USSR, seen today as the archetypical slow and dangerously powerful character. The yoga master Dalsim from India, the all-American soldier Guile, whose stereotypically macho character would require Jean-Claude Van Damme to depict on the big screen, the Japanese sumo wrestler E Honda, and the Brazilian monster Blanca. These 8 formed one of the most diverse casts of playable characters seen at the time. They would have to fight each other and eventually the 4 boss characters, the black Las Vegas boxer Balrog, the Spanish bullfighter Vega, a vengeful Sagat, and the head of the evil Shadow Law Corporation, General M. Bison, who would become the main antagonist of the series. Naturally, Nintendo and Sega needed ports for their 16-bit consoles. Thus began Capcom's habit of remaking and re-releasing the same game. Future versions of the game would make the 4 bosses playable and later add 4 entirely new characters: Fei Long from Hong Kong, the indigenous Mexican T-Hawk, the Jamaican DJ, and Bison's former follower, Cammy from England, finally giving you a second female as well as doubling the original roster of World Warriors to 16. According to urban legend, the popularity of electronic gaming magazine's April Fool's joke, stating that an all-powerful secret character could be attained through ridiculous means, prompted Capcom to introduce a real secret character, Akuma, depicted as a darker version of Ryu or Ken. After thoroughly milking Street Fighter II with 10 or so re-releases, Capcom finally decided to move on to a different chapter of the series. However, before moving forward to Street Fighter III, Capcom took a step back. Street Fighter Alpha Warrior's Dreams serves as a prequel to the Street Fighter II storyline, but still takes place after the original Street Fighter. Compared to the series up to that point, Street Fighter Alpha was noticeably brighter, inspired by Street Fighter, the animated movie. As expected, this game features younger versions of Ryu, Ken, and Chun-Li. Sagat also returns to his quest of revenge against Ryu for scarring him. Birdie and Adon, enemies from the original Street Fighter, make their debut as playable characters. Final Fight, another series by Capcom, becomes canonically linked to Street Fighter by the inclusion of one of the heroes, Guy, as well as one of the villains, Saddam. This game also introduces us to Charlie, a comrade of Guile featuring a similar moveset, and Rose, a fortune teller capable of reflecting projectiles. M. Bison retains his position as the main boss character, while Akuma retains his as the secret opponent. To juxtapose Akuma's deadly variation of Ryu and Ken's moveset, Dan is introduced in a pink gi as the laughably weak alternative. All three are secretly playable. Street Fighter Alpha features a super combo gauge with a maximum of 3 levels used to perform super combos, the limit breaks of Street Fighter. On top of the traditional arcade, versus, training, and survival modes, we have a special mode called Dramatic Battle, inspired by Ryu and Ken's fight against Bison in the movie, which allows you to select 2 characters to use in 2-on-1 fights against 4 difficult opponents. The Alpha series continues with Street Fighter Alpha 2. On top of the characters from the previous game, fan favorites Zangief and Dhalsim make their return, along with Gen from the original Street Fighter and Rolento, another character from the Final Fight series. Ryu also gets a fangirl, the Japanese schoolgirl Sakura, who brings the roster up to 18. This game secretly includes variant characters, including Street Fighter 2 versions of Chun-Li, Zangief, and Dhalsim, an evil Ryu possessing Akuma's powers, and secret opponent Shin Akuma. The spin-off, Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold, returned Cammy to the cast. Street Fighter Alpha 2 held on to most of the special techniques from the previous game with the addition of custom combos. Once a custom combo is initiated, your character's super gauge will begin to deplete while you're allowed to quickly perform normal and special techniques into a long combo. This can be difficult to take full advantage of, and certain characters are definitely more suited for it than others. The sub-series peaked with Street Fighter Alpha 3, which brought back Cammy, E Honda, Blanca, Balrog, and Vega, and added Cody from Final Fight, now a fugitive. We're also introduced to Karin, Japanese schoolgirl and rival of Sakura, while Zangief gets his own fangirl, another Japanese woman and fan of professional wrestling, R. Mika. 2 more women, Junie and Julie, appear as sub-bosses working for Bison with similar abilities to Cammy. While some of the characters only appeared as opponents, the remake Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper included all of them as playable characters as well as the remaining World Warriors, DJ, Fei Long, T-Hawk, and Guile. You could also now play as the powerful Evil Ryu or Shin Akuma, bringing the final roster to 34, including 8 women, both unprecedented for a fighting game at the time. Street Fighter Alpha 3 introduced the ability to choose between 3 isms for your character. With A-ism, your character plays as expected in an alpha game, with a 3-level combo gauge and multiple super combos at their disposal. X-ism limits your character to a 1-level gauge and a single powerful super combo, while V-ism allows your character to perform custom combos. The Street Fighter Alpha Anthology includes ports of Alpha, Alpha 2, Alpha 2 Gold, and Alpha 3 by default. Once you've completed Alpha 3, save and exit at the home screen, then select Alpha 3 again while holding the select button to unlock Alpha 3 Upper with the complete roster of characters. The Anthology also includes Super Gem Fighter Mini Mix, a lighthearted fighting game with a roster of chibi characters from Street Fighter as well as Darkstalkers. While it doesn't have much to do with the Alpha series, it's at least a worthwhile diversion when you're tired of all the intense fighting. A lot of combos in this game simply amount to mashing a single button repeatedly. Once you've completed all 6 games, save and exit, then select Alpha 1 while holding the select button. This unlocks the Anthology exclusive title Hyper Street Fighter Alpha. This game only features versus and training modes, but on top of allowing you to choose from the entire roster of Alpha 3 Upper, also allows you to choose which version of that character from the 4 default Alpha games you would like to play as. Notable mostly because of the amount of tweaking to the basic techniques and recurring characters throughout the Alpha series. On top of this, a secret allows you to select from even more versions of the same character, resulting in an immense amount of playable characters. There are way too many variations to go through in this video, but my favorites include versions of characters as seen in the Marvel vs. Capcom spin-offs, including Ken with the fiery Shoryuken, and Diagonal Air Hadoken, as well as Ryu with the Shin Shoryuken and Extra Large Hadoken. If you want to know every little secret this anthology has to offer, you'll need to look up the comprehensive guides at GameFAQs.com or other secrets websites. This anthology is definitely one of the best deals around for any fan of fighting games due to the amount of content on a single disc. I highly recommend this title, especially to fans of Street Fighter. Even if you're not a fan of fighting games, this title is a worthwhile rental and may be enough to convince you.
Thank you for listening and happy gaming.